We're talking about conflict in marriage relationships. We thought we'd broaden that out and talk about conflict more generally. Conflict within family groupings or even just with people that we don't like on the internet. How do we do this well? Particularly when, I suppose, people sort of are clustering tribally into various echo chambers online. And I think there's almost like a modern mating dance here, that if you like my meme, then maybe we're of the same tribe. And we kind of exchange ideologies, and then we can only be online with people that we agree with about absolutely everything, and then we're in smaller and smaller circles. Finding our way out of those circles and engaging with people, even those that we disagree with. John Cowan joining me. John, kia ora, good morning.
It's great to speak with you. Great to see you too, with this using a video so we can actually see each other.
The wonders of
Welcome
modern
to
technology.
the 21st century. It's wonderful.
I caught up eventually. I still haven't caught up on Facebook, though. I'm still a knuckle-dragging Luddite in that regard. However, from the sounds of things, from your recent experience, maybe I'm not missing much. There's certainly some traps for young players on social media.
Andrew, by not being on Facebook, you're missing out on some of life's great disappointments and
I'm a creative
and the
soul.
Opportunities to disagree with people all over the planet.
I have found other creative ways to waste time and be obnoxious. Not on Facebook. I mean, it's a challenge, but I'm up for it, John. But
if anyone can do it, you can do it.
Exactly. Thank you. Now, I suppose some recent experiences of, I suppose, how to engage with people that are perhaps in a different sphere, a different echo chamber than yourself. You had some recent experience on that.
Oh, I have. By the way, there is a very simple solution to all this problem, and that is everybody should just agree with me. And so this is just some temporary solutions until everybody sees the error of their ways and comes around to the way that I'm thinking. But I did a silly thing yesterday. I went on Facebook, and that's probably the silliest thing going on Facebook. And I looked at the profile and posts of a guy I've known for decades. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen him less recently, but he was a friend. And just about every one of his posts got up my nose. His attitudes to global warming, to politics, to Maori, to vaccination, to gays, to matariki, to immigration. Every one of these hot button topics, his views were sort of diametrically opposed to my own. And I'm not actually going to be brave enough to tell you what my views on any of those topics are.
Yeah.
But if you want to know what his opinions were, think of something very, very wrong, incorrect, and dumb. And yep, that was one of his opinions. So we'll just leave it at that. So, and you've come across people in your world that are like this. How do we get along with them?
Exactly, and it is tempting, I suppose, to jump in there and go, well, if I post counter memes in response to their silly ideas, then eventually they will see the light and they'll be wise like I am. But I'm not sure social media works like that, John.
No. But that is the great temptation. You know, it was silly of me to go onto his page. You know, I'd selected the option years ago where you see less of someone's posts. And that's a reasonable anesthetic to someone's provocative and unpalatable views. So why did I go on his page? Did I wanted to see how offended and indignant I could be? And did I think that he might have changed, had some Damascus Road experience, and now saw things like I did? So it was a silly things to do. But I was also tempted to do other silly things, and that is to go through each one of his posts and do a rage about every one of his ideas and use copy and paste facts from my favorite websites to counteract his copy and paste facts from his favorite websites and match his silly memes with my silly memes. But really, how much good would it do? And so I'm going to do what I think has worked best for me anyway, and that's just back off a little bit and cool down. So I have got some ideas on how to live in this world where people don't think about things like I do, at least yet anyway. I'm working on it, but they don't agree with me now. So how am I going to get on with them? Because some of these people I actually quite like. Some of them I'm related to. Yeah, but mind you, that's the toughest one, isn't it?
You can't block family on Facebook. It's awkward at Christmas parties, John.
No. Hey, my first idea for getting along in this world where we disagree with people. And by the way, people are already trying to work out, what does he really think and how can I disagree with him? But can I just say, you are entitled to your views, even your wrong ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big thing. Let's not get angsty and things about people having different views. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
Next, and I carry this thought with me as much as I can. Pride gets in the way at times, but I do try and put this right front and center in my thinking. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I've been wrong about enough things in the past to know that I need to carry a fair bit of humility with me. But at least being wrong gave me the opportunity to change my mind. Mm-hmm. And that's actually encouraged me. It's great to know that minds, even my stuck in the muds, one-track mind, can be changed. And so I'd like to think that people can change their thinking. And there is a bit of a campaigner in me. I would like to think that, that there are some things in the world that are worth actually campaigning about.
Yeah.
I think I like to stick up for things that I believe are right.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the right to private opinions, but there's no such thing as a private fact.
Yes.
And so not everything is an opinion. Some things are just a matter of right and wrong, fact and fiction. So I'm especially tempted to be vocal when people get their facts wrong and they just parrot something they got off an internet site without checking it. And so, yeah, I am one of those people that think that there are ideas that are worth educating people about and campaigning for. And if I can nudge people to a better understanding of these things, to rescue them from error and ignorance and being deceived, then I think I'm doing a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think it's right to speak up when people malign or seek to cause harm to individuals.
Yeah.
Attacking ideas is one thing, but slander is another. And so are threats of violence. And so I do want to, countering that, I do want to defend people's right to proclaim their opinions.
Yeah.
I think that's a very important thing in our modern world. And so this idea of shutting people down so that they can't be heard,
Canceling
I don't agree
out.
with that.
Yeah.
I think that there's a quote attributed to Voltaire, even though he probably didn't say it. I disapprove of what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
I think he said it in French, but yeah, I think it's words to that effect. Yeah.
Actually, if you dig around, it was actually someone called Hall that said this was a Voltairic type idea, but we won't get into that. But I don't think that freedom extends to calling for harm to people that they disagree with. And I have seen stuff like that online, and it's nasty, and I'd call it out. So I do believe that helping people to have good ideas is so important that I usually end up shutting up. I usually don't rub their noses in their errors and their mistakes, because getting angry tirades never work as a way of changing people's minds. I learned this ages ago. I used to wonder, why aren't people more grateful when I point out how wrong they've been?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. And so
I mean, perhaps because I also, like you, have an argumentative spirit. It is a bunch of fun. I think it's my favourite sport, actually, is arguing about stuff which often doesn't have much consequence.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here for an argument. We won't start on that. But actually, being in that space where you can say, you know what, I'm going to enter somebody else's worldview, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to shut my mouth. Now, for somebody who talks too much for a living, that is possibly the hardest discipline that I have to master, but actually it is good for you. That doesn't mean that by silence you're agreeing necessarily with their point of view, but you're giving them the grace and the dignity to say, hey, I'm just not going to surround myself with people who agree with everything that I say and think, because actually we end up in smaller circles. We don't grow in that way.
Yeah, that unfortunately is exactly what happens over a lot of these issues. People unfriend or block people with contrary views, and they end up in this bubble, as you put it, of just people that think like them. Yeah. And so it just reinforces your particular viewpoint. When are you going to get that idea challenged or tested or corrected? When are you going to have the opportunity of actually putting that idea, if it is a good one, to someone else? And so I really think that it's best to stay in relationships with people, and relationships based on good humor and respect are the best context for exchanging ideas. I mean, there's far more likelihood of me being influenced by my friends that I like than someone who attacks me on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that means that I have to choose to ignore a lot of the red rags and provocation that comes my way and just get on with people.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future, it'll give me the chance to actually get alongside them, ask questions about their point of view, ask them to explain it, and maybe I can nudge inch by inch a viewpoint around if it's an important one. Or maybe they'll nudge my viewpoints around, but just blathering on at people on Facebook, I don't think that's ever going to work.
Yeah.
The only thing it's very successful in is drawing people together into these little clumps. I had a good example growing up. My mum was National voter.
Yep.
My dad was Labor.
Yep.
Every 3 years, they went off to the polling booths and cancelled out each other's vote. But they loved each other to bits all their lives.
Yeah.
And many of my good friends really have some dud ideas. Sorry if you're listening. In my opinion, but they're mates anyway.
Yeah.
We tend to stay off topics that we disagree on. They know my hot button topics, and we major more on the things that we do agree with. But one day, in the context of friendship and respect, we might listen to each other's ideas. So that's my general policy.
Very good.
Online and in life.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Shrug, live and let live. And if they like you, they might eventually listen to you.
Yeah, that's a very good thoughts indeed, John. Certainly easier said than done in some regards, and certainly I find the challenge of biting my tongue when I've got, particularly when I've got a witty or a cutting remark that I can make. You just go, no, I'll just keep that internally. Hey, John, really appreciate what you bring to the conversation. Thanks for being on the show today.
My privilege.